He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. That was such a terrific conversation with Dr. Nicholas Conger. He is he's a great friend of the show, but as I've said so many times before, I'm reminded of it every time we have him on the show. He has such a practical point of view about the whole situation. And so if you miss that, you can go to the Facebook page for SuperTalk Gulf Coast Facebook page and watch it. And really get a very practical view about the situation as it relates to the coronavirus. Really great conversation. Now we're going to shift gears. We're going to move over to my friend Francisoc Gonzalez. He's the project manager for the Brown Condor Mississippi Aviation History Museum. Francisco, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Rick. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. I've been really looking forward to the conversation. I've been watching the evolution of the museum, and it's been awesome watching the number of volunteers grow and the number of grants grow and the number of donations. I'm talking about donation of items. It's been incredible watching the evolution of this. But we want to get into all of that and give people kind of an up-to-date picture of what's happening with the museum as they see it sort of really begin to take shape there on Pass Road in Gulfport. But before we do that, I want to talk about you for a second. You know, I mentioned to you off the air that I remember when I was a young guy at the Sun Herald, and you were either at WLOX at the time or had just left WLOX to form your own company called GonzaFlex Productions. And I had gone to a United Way event, and during the event, a video was shown that was really this incredible video to launch the United Way campaign. It was a tearjerker. And it was a level of creativity and production that I had never seen before. I think most of the people in the room had not seen that before. And, people were asking questions, who did that? Who did that? It turns out it was Francisoc Gonzalez that did that. Do you remember that?
Absolutely. I remember that because one of my passions in life has always been to do public service. And when I get approached by nonprofits to help them, and when the United Way called me and said, hey, we saw your product and we saw your work and can you help us? And I did that through the ad club at the time. It was the ad club, the Mississippi Gulf Coast ad club, and we did a beautiful campaign. In fact, I don't know where it is, but I got an award in here for that.
Yeah, that's cool. So
many years ago.
So, Francisco, I had 4 governors on the show yesterday. I had Mavis, Musgrove, Bryant, and Barber all at the same time. And one of the things we talked about during the conversation was the heart of Mississippians. Now, I know you weren't born here. Obviously, by your accent, it's clear you weren't.
No.
But Mississippi is quick about bringing people in, and it didn't take you long to sort of buy into what's at the heart and soul of a Mississippian. And giving and being generous is kind of part of that. You saw that, didn't you?
Absolutely. Not only did I saw it, I went to college in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, but I saw the American spirit of integrity. When I was 8 years old, took a cruise to Miami, and I was at the hotel, Howard Johnson, I remember that. And there was a gentleman who went to a machine, Ricky, and put a coin in his machine, and he'd open it very slowly. And there was newspapers in it. He took one newspaper and then closed the machine. And I was 8 years old. I said, what did I just witness? And I'm going like, I've never seen anything like that in Venezuela. Don't exist. In Venezuela, somebody will put the coin, take all 30 newspapers and go sell them in the corner and say how dumb was the person who invented the machine. So I knew I was among special people. And I wanted that day, I started dreaming to come to America, to have integrity like the Americans have and the work ethic the Americans have. So that was what was the catalyst. Now, Mississippi, I arrived in Hattiesburg. One weekend, I drove down to the Gulf Coast and I said, wow, I like this place. I want to live here one day. So after I graduated from college, I was very much welcome. WLOX TV was exemplary for me. They just embrace me. They allow me to be creative. They allow me to use my energy and my stamina and do some great things.
Yeah, and during the conversation with the governors yesterday, I asked them to tell me what is the one attraction that you would tell people to go see. And they mentioned different things like the Blues Trail and things like that, the Civil Rights Museum. But Governor Bryant talked about the coast. He talked about the appeal of the coast, the incredible coastal lifestyle, that, just incredible place that if you live in Mississippi or you visit Mississippi, you got to go see it. It's just something about it. I'm not originally from here. My family moved here when I was like 4 years old. I consider myself a native. But it's that coastal lifestyle that connected me to this place. And, throughout my career, I've had many opportunities to move way away to California and Miami and places like that. And I just, it was in my blood. I just couldn't leave the place. And it certainly grabbed you in that same way, didn't it?
Yeah, it is giving, and the spirit of giving is something that my parents instilled in me when I was little. And I love giving back. I mean, it's our duty to give back. America is a great country and it's given us the opportunity. I am so lucky.
Yeah.
So lucky to have been given the opportunities that I've had. So I'm going to give back the most I can.
So you formed your own company called GonzaFlex Productions. Mm-hmm. And over the years, you've done so much different work. I mean, you've done it all, haven't you? Just give the listeners an opportunity to hear that.
I did well in college. My first job was in the checkout room for all the equipment. And as I was going to film school, and then when I went to work at WLOX-TV, they saw my creativity. And one day I got invited by John Hash, who was the president of WLOX-TV, and Jimmy Love. And they said, Francisco, we love the kind of work you're doing. I was working with Barbara
Salome,
yeah.
Yes.
We were doing the show, the Student Spotlight. And that show was so successful. And so what we did is they said, why don't we put you in business? And it was like they were the Shark Tank, I guess, I don't know, of today. And I said, sure, why not? So what they allowed me was to do high-end production that oftentimes a TV station could not do. So I was the first person on the Gulf Coast to shoot film commercials, which there was nothing like that. You can see it in Hollywood. There was another guy in Jackson that did it, so we became competitors. But it allowed me to do aesthetically beautiful commercials, and that put me in the map.
Wow, so cool. So over the years, you've done so much. You've been involved in sporting events, movies. You've really done it all, haven't you?
I have DP'd 7 feature films. I have directed probably 5,000 film commercials. I was considered for an Oscar for one of the movies that I DP. I won countless Addies and Tellies and you name it. But to me, that's water under the bridge. Is what we do. What we do now is what counts.
Yeah.
But I'm very grateful that I was given those opportunities.
So where did the idea for the Aviation Museum come from?
After Katrina, my significant other, Rosemary Rusta, invited me to be part of this group that was trying to build a museum. And the group was called the John C. Robinson Brown Condor Association. And they invited me. I listened, and I asked, what is the mission? Well, I said, they had gotten a grant from the state. Originally, they wanted to build the John C. Robinson Museum to honor John C. Robinson. Once they got the grant from the state, they basically said, we need to build something bigger. So I said, why don't we all did, said, let's build a museum to honor all Mississippi aviators, from the Tennessee line to the Gulf Coast, from the Alabama line to the Mississippi River. So we started compiling information about who were these heroes. And therefore, they came with the Mississippi Aviation Heritage Museum many years ago.
Yeah, so people know the brown condor, and you mentioned his name, John C. Robinson, is a really famous aviator. And Tom Simmons from Gulfport wrote the definitive book about John Robinson called The Man Called Brown Condor. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he's been a friend of yours throughout this whole process.
A tremendous friend. Tom Simmons stood up at one of the board meetings and said, we need to elect Francisco to be president of the board.
Yeah. That's a big support.
That was the catalyst that got me going. I said, okay, if you guys want me to be president, I'm just not going to sit around and spend years looking for a location. I'm going to go find some money and go forward.
So let's do this. This is Francisoc Gonzalez. He's the project manager for the Brown Condor Mississippi Aviation History Museum. And we'll be back after this break to tell you more about the museum.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Francisoc Gonzalez. Francisco is an old friend of mine. I've known him in media for most of my career. He's the project manager for the Brown Condor Mississippi Aviation History Museum. And when we went to break, he talked about this board coming together and him sort of getting empowered. He kind of got a big fire in his eye and a fire in his belly to make the Aviation Museum become a reality. They found a location on Pass Road in Gulfport. And began the process. And what's interesting is I've been around in communities where, for example, in New Orleans with the World War II Museum, where you have this, tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to pull off the dream. In this case, it was literally an effort of determined volunteers to pull it off. You have a plan, obviously, that's driving your efforts. But you've had to win people into this one person at a time, one exhibit at a time, one big donation at a time. That's been I've watched it on Facebook. I've watched the whole process sort of unfold in front of our eyes, and we're getting closer and closer to an opening day now. So actually, what is the projected opening day?
Well, we had projected opening day for April 17th, actually April 27th. It was going to be a gala event. And of course, because of the rules from the governor came down, so we're still working some details with the code because the building had been there for so many years abandoned that we had to bring it to code. But I want to give a shout to the city council of Gulfport and the mayor, who had been very generous with us in allowing us to build this museum in stages, little by little, because they understood the economic situation. So we are now looking at the American Alliance guidelines American Alliance of Museums guidelines, and we're going to open according to them. Also, because of the grants that we received, I was able to work in some grants while I was in quarantine, and we received a grant from the Gulf Coast Heritage, and also a grant from the Humanities Council, the Mississippi Humanities Council. While we were in quarantine, I was able to create those grants, and the monies are coming in July. So that's when we start work again. Now, the only problem is the majority of our volunteers, people. You have two options. You either have money to pay people to do the work, or you find people who wants to do the work because they have passion in their hearts. And that's the way we did it, Ricky. It was simple. But I believe it was a God incident because he put me in front of people that put people in front of them, and they started coming in and helping. Now, once these 2 grants come in, and once the American Alliance of Museums gives us the go-ahead, we're going to be very, very careful. Hopefully, within 2 months, we'll be open the museum to the public in a very conservative way, with social distancing, and we got plexiglass coming to put in places. And of course, donations continue to come in. I just got a donation of plexiglass from Domino's Pizza. Mr. Mueller. Incredible.
You know what's interesting though? Watching the donation, it could be an airplane, it could be some famous memorabilia that someone has.
Mm-hmm.
It could be just services that someone's providing you, their own hands to help you do something. And one of the things I actually pulled the list of donors. If we started to list the donors and the sponsors from Robin Roberts Foundation to you name it, we would have to take the rest of the show to list them all. That's how many people you've been able to get involved in this effort. I mean, that's really the story of this museum, isn't it?
Yeah, and the beautiful part is that people are understanding that this is a museum that it brings everybody together, okay? We have the opportunity here to have the most inclusive museum in Mississippi. I don't care where you're from. If you're a hero, if you did something important in Mississippi aviation history, we're going to highlight you. In fact, I invite people to come and tell me, hey, you need to look into this person who was a hero in World War II, or you see what I'm saying? That is very, very important to me. So that's what we have done.
When you study aviation history in Mississippi, there are so many heroes, so many stories, and you've really enjoyed, zeroing in. I mean, John C. Roberts is just the beginning, but there are just so many heroes. It's incredible, isn't it?
And the beautiful thing is, I believe that everything is done in steps. The first step we did was build a bronze statue of John C. Robinson that is at the airport right now. And then we continue to build bronze statues. And then we found a building. And once we found the building, man, it was like an eye-opening. And the board looked at me and said, are you sure we can do this? I said, we're not sure, but we're going to do it. And people keep coming to us and giving to us. And I want to thank everybody in the community that have given to us so much, and we're willing, and our arms are open, and we're going to impress you, I hope.
Well, I know you are. Listen, we're running out of time, Francisoc Gonzalez, but it's been a pleasure catching up with you. We'll have you back in a few weeks and just check in with you and see how things are going. Congratulations on all the hard work. Congratulations to the sponsors, to the volunteers, and I look forward to personally taking a look at the museum. So take care, buddy.
The Navy.
Yeah. They've been important.
Oh, incredible.
Yes. Good deal, buddy. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Thank you.